You hid your sister's letter? Your own blood, Ngozi. Your own blood. From today, anything that belongs to you in this house, I don't want to see it.
They say in Ondo State, the child who shines the brightest does not always shine the longest. But before we get to that, let me tell you about Ngozi. Listen, my people, let me tell you about a girl called Ngozi Adeyemi. Tall Ngozi, beautiful Ngozi, the kind of girl who walked into a room and wanted every eye to follow her and felt angry when one eye did not. By the time I finish this story, you will laugh because this same Ngozi, who used her own two hands to plan her younger sister's suffering, would soon wish she had left that letter alone. But wait, I am running ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. In the town of Akure, inside a small house on Ibokoda Street, lived the Adeyemi family. Baba Adeyemi was a quiet man who sold spare parts at the market. Mama Adeyemi was a woman who tied her wrapper tight and prayed harder than she breathed. They had two daughters, Ngozi the first and Adaeze the second. If Adaeze was still water, Ngozi was a pot already boiling. Adaeze was the kind of girl who stayed up past midnight with a small torch, reading when the light bill had not been paid. She helped Mama wash the plates before anyone asked. She greeted every neighbor by name. The whole street knew her as that quiet, serious girl who would become something one day. Ngozi was different. Ngozi had decided from the time she was 13 years old that she was the star of the Adeyemi family. She said it plainly. She believed it deeply. When relatives came to visit and praised Adaeze for her school results, Ngozi would find a reason to cough or drop something so the attention would turn to her. She was not lazy. No, Ngozi worked hard, but she worked hard for one reason only. She wanted to be first. She wanted to be the one the family pointed to and said, "That is our pride." For a long time, it worked. Ngozi finished secondary school with good grades. She got admission to study business administration at the Polytechnic in town. Baba bought a small cake. Mama cried happy tears. The neighbors congratulated the family. Ngozi enjoyed every moment of that celebration. She sat in the center of it like a queen sitting on a throne. She did not know that 3 years later, a younger sister would write JAMB and score higher than she ever dreamed of scoring. She did not know that the University of Benin would send an acceptance letter to their house on Ibokoda Street. And she did not know that the moment that letter arrived, something dark and ugly would wake up inside her chest and push her to do the worst thing she had ever done. But we are not there yet. For now, all you need to know is this. Ngozi Adeyemi loved her family, but she loved being the family star more. And that love, my people, was the kind that could make a person do a very foolish thing. Adaeze was not the kind of girl who made noise about her gifts. She studied the way some people breathe, like she could not stop, even if she wanted to. After Ngozi left for the Polytechnic, the house became quieter. Baba still came home tired. Mama still prayed loud every morning. But Adaeze would sit at the small wooden table near the window, her textbook open, her pencil moving, her lips reading words nobody else could hear. Her teachers at school called her something special, not in the way people say it to be polite. They meant it. Her further mathematics teacher, Mr. Okafor, One stopped the whole class just to read her answer out loud. The class was quiet for 3 seconds. Then they started to clap. Adaeze looked down at her desk when they clapped. She was not performing. She just loved to learn. When JAMB results came out, Adaeze scored 312. Mama screamed so loud, the neighbor's dog started barking. Baba sat down slowly and covered his face with both hands, not because he was sad, because the joy was too big to carry standing up. They told Ngozi that same evening over the phone. There was a long silence on the line. Then Ngozi said, "That is good," and she dropped the call. Adaeze did not notice the silence. She was already dreaming about Benin, about lecture halls, about becoming a doctor. She had no idea that the person she trusted most was already planning to steal that dream before it could leave the ground. My people, before I continue, let me ask you something important. Do you have someone in your life who smiles at your face but prays against your progress behind your back? Drop a 1 or 2 in the comments and tell me your story. And if you are new here, do not forget to subscribe so you never miss a single story. The acceptance letter came on a Tuesday. Adaeze was not home. She had gone to the market with Mama to buy tomatoes and fresh pepper. Baba was at the shop. The house was empty except for Ngozi, who had come back from the Polytechnic for a short holiday. She was the one who heard the knock at the gate. She was the one who opened it. The postman handed her a white envelope, University of Benin, written boldly across the top, Miss Adaeze Adeyemi, written just below it. Ngozi stood at the gate for a long time after the postman left. She read the name again. Then she read it one more time. Something moved inside her chest, something she had no name for, but had been living there quietly for years. It was not hatred. Ngozi did not hate her sister, but it was close to hatred. It was the fear of becoming invisible, the fear that if Adaeze rose high enough, nobody would remember to look at Ngozi anymore. She folded the letter slowly. She walked to her room. She opened her box and pushed the letter under her clothes all the way to the bottom. Then she went to the kitchen and started cutting onions so that if her eyes were red, when Mama returned, there would be a reason. Weeks passed. Adaeze waited. She had heard from classmates that University of Benin letters were already arriving at people's houses. 2 girls from her school had already shown her their own letters on WhatsApp. She was happy for them, but a small worry had started to sit quietly in her stomach. She asked Mama. Mama said, "Nothing has come, my daughter. Keep praying." She asked Ngozi once, casually, standing in the corridor. Ngozi did not blink. She said she had not seen anything. Then she asked Adaeze if she had remembered to collect her JAMB result slip from school, because sometimes the school address caused delays. It was a perfect answer. Calm, helpful, sisterly. Adaeze believed every word. Meanwhile, Ngozi performed the role of caring older sister with frightening skill. She encouraged Adaeze to check the JAMB portal daily. She suggested Adaeze visit the school counselor. She even sat beside her one evening and helped her draft an email to the university admissions office asking about her application status. She typed that email herself, with the letter buried in her box 3 rooms away. My people, Ngozi was not careless or stupid. She was deliberate. She had studied the situation the way a chess player studies a board. Every move was chosen. Every word was measured. She smiled at the right moment. She frowned with concern at the right moment. Adaeze saw a sister. The audience saw a plan falling apart in slow motion. Because what Ngozi did not know, what she could not have known, was that the University of Benin had a policy. If a letter was not acknowledged within 30 days, they sent a second copy by registered post directly to the applicant's name. The second letter arrived on a Friday morning, not through the gate, not handed to whoever was standing nearby. The postman knocked and asked for Miss Adaeze Adeyemi by name. He had a clipboard. He needed a signature. Adaeze signed it herself. She opened it, standing right there at the gate, in her house slippers, the morning sun hitting the white paper. She read the first line. Then she read it again. Then she covered her mouth with her hand. She had been admitted to study medicine at the University of Benin. She ran inside screaming. Mama came out of the kitchen. Baba called back 3 times from the shop before the call connected. The neighbors heard the noise and started gathering at the fence, asking what happened. Ngozi walked out of her room slowly. She saw the letter in Adaeze's hand. She saw the stamp, the seal, the words, and her face did something her mouth could not fix. It fell, just for 1 second, just long enough for Mama to see it, just long enough for the story to turn. Mama looked at Ngozi's face. Then Mama looked at the letter. Then Mama said quietly, like a woman who already knows the answer to the question she's about to ask, Ngozi, has any letter come to this house before today? The room went silent. Adaeze turned slowly. Ngozi opened her mouth, but the silence that came out of it was louder than anything she could have said. Mama walked straight to Ngozi's room without another word. Adaeze followed. They opened the box together, and there, under the folded clothes, at the very bottom, was the first letter, still sealed, still white, still waiting. Mama did not shout. That was the frightening part. She lifted the letter from the box with 2 fingers, the way you lift something that has no right to be where it is. She placed it on the bed. She smoothed it flat with her palm. Then she sat down and looked at Ngozi the way only a mother can look at a child who has broken something that cannot be repaired with an apology. Ngozi started talking. She said she forgot. She said she was going to give it. She said it was just 1 letter. It was not a big deal. Adaeze got the second one anyway, so nothing was lost. Adaeze stood at the door and said nothing. That silence was the humiliation. Not shouting, not a slap. Just Adaeze standing there, looking at her sister, understanding for the first time that the person who was supposed to want the best for her had buried her future under a pile of clothes and then sat beside her, helping her write emails to find it. Mama called Baba home from the shop. Baba came and listened to the full story, standing in the doorway. When Ngozi finished explaining, Baba looked at her and said only 4 words. You did this deliberately. It was not a question. By evening, the story had reached Auntie Chisom, who lived 2 streets away. By the next morning, it had reached the church. By Sunday, it had reached the extended family WhatsApp group, where Uncle Emeka typed in capital letters that this was a wickedness that needed to be addressed at the next family meeting. Ngozi could not show her face at the junction. The suya seller knew. The woman who sold akara knew. Even the small children playing football in the street went quiet when she passed. Time moved the way it always does after a scandal. Fast for the people watching, slow for the person at the center of it. Adaeze packed her bags 3 weeks later. Mama ironed every piece of clothing twice. Baba bought her a new dictionary and a small box of cabin biscuits for the road. The neighbors came to say goodbye. The woman who sold akara gave her a free serving and said, "Go and make us proud, my daughter." Adaeze hugged Mama for a long time at the gate. Then she turned and looked at Ngozi, who was standing a little apart from everyone else, the way a person stands when they are not sure if they belong in a moment. Adaeze walked to her. She held her hand. She did not say much. She said, "I forgive you, but please do not do this to anyone else." Then she got into the bus and left. Ngozi stood at the gate long after the bus disappeared. Something broke open in her chest that morning. Not dramatically, not with tears and noise. It broke the quiet way. The way a crack spread slowly across a wall long after the earthquake has finished. She went back to the Polytechnic the following week. She sat in her classes. She answered questions. She smiled when required. But something had shifted permanently in how she saw herself. She had tried to dim someone else's light, and in doing so, she had dimmed her own. The family never forgot what happened. It was not brought up cruelly, but it lived in the room at every gathering, quiet and present, the way certain truths do. Adaeze went to Benin and did not look back. She had a future to build. And now, finally, nothing was standing in her way. My people, we have reached the end of today's story. And what a story it was. Let me give you the lesson plain and simple, the way Mama Adeyemi would serve it. No decoration, no long grammar. If you bury someone else's letter, life will deliver their destiny by registered post and make you sign the receipt. Write that down somewhere. Because Ngozi was not a bad person from the beginning. She was a talented girl who made a terrible choice. She chose fear over love. She chose position over family. And the thing about that kind of choice is that it does not just hurt the person you aimed it at. It turns around and hollows you out from the inside. Adaeze did not need Ngozi's permission to succeed. She never did. Her destiny had a tracking number and a second copy. Now here is today's educational question, and I want you to think carefully before you answer in the comments. If you were Adaeze, would you have forgiven Ngozi or cut her off completely? And what do you think Ngozi should have done the moment that first letter arrived? Drop your answer below. There is no wrong answer here. I want to read every single one. And as you comment, as you like, as you share this story with someone who needs to hear it today, I want to pray for you. May every letter that belongs to you reach your hands. May every person assigned to delay your destiny arrive too late. May the second copy of every good thing in your life find you by registered post, signed, sealed and delivered in Jesus' name. Come back for part 2, my people. Subscribe so you do not miss it, and tell someone about the story today.